Accusations of abuse and neglect, poor staff training, and state investigations have plagued a North Idaho youth home.
A supervisor threatened to fire anyone who called for emergency help under any circumstances without first going up the chain of command.
This is Daniel. He is one of thousands of American kids who have been sent by their parents to facilities for, quote, troubled teens to help change their behavior. Daniel spent months in a wilderness treatment program from the age of 15. He says he and other teens were isolated, forbidden from speaking, and even assaulted.
Cottage in Post Falls is not a regular foster home. The therapeutic facility houses preteen and teen girls who have been through such intense trauma they need more care than regular foster care could offer.
I have never seen things like I saw at Cornerstone.
Carter and several former co-workers paint a grim picture of what happened here. Information from police reports and internal memos, information that includes multiple suicide attempts, girls attacking staff members and each other, a lack of staff training, and even a case of statutory rape by a staff member. That man admitted the inappropriate relationship, was fired, charged, and convicted. This woman, who goes by the name Mara, stayed at Cornerstone Cottage on 2 different occasions. It was during Mara's second stay that she says another girl at the home attacked her.
I was physically assaulted. I developed a TBI, and to this day, I still suffer with aura migraines and partial blindness when I get them.
Part of the whole Dr. Phil show is they send these kids to either Turnabout or these other programs that are also in Utah, but they're all wilderness programs and they're all fucked up. Took in there against my will. I'm not really sure why Dr. Phil still sends kids here. It really doesn't make sense. Like, are you trying to help them or are you trying to hurt them even more? Because, I mean, we all know he's a phony as it is, but like, don't be sending kids somewhere just to make it look like you're trying to do something.
Survivors of these so-called wilderness therapy programs say that abuse is rampant and that the therapy techniques cause more harm than good.
Some of the long-term impacts of residents of these facilities that we're seeing within our community include pretty high rates of complex post-traumatic stress disorder. We have quite a high rate of suicide and others that die of drug overdose.
Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel here. It's me here, Comrade Lavender, and today I'm back with another true crime anti-capitalism video. Today I'm going to be doing the Pure Evil files, the troubled teen industry files, deep dive, capitalism, child abuse, true crime, etc. All my YouTube videos related to this topic will be linked down below in the video description of this YouTube video down below for more if you'd like to check them out, as well as on the screen right now for more. So let's get started into this anti-capitalism true crime video. There are many memories from that time that have stayed with Paris Hilton, and there is one in particular that still haunts her to this very day. I continuously experience a nightmare when 2 men come into my room in the middle of the night and kidnap me. It has caused me severe trauma, and I know it is a tentpole of this industry that has caused millions of victims of capitalism survivors to suffer the same nightmares throughout their adult life. Provo Canyon, though, isn't the only behavior modification program that allegedly operates in this way or with similar methods. There are hundreds of other highly profitable institutions, schools, boot camps, and facilities across the United States, many of which have been accused of employing physically and emotionally abusive tactics in the name of rehabilitating misbehaving teens and youth, and plenty of them use traumatic legal kidnapping that Paris Hilton describes when they intake students. One of the most famous episodes of the Dr. Hill show aired in 2016 when a 13-year-old girl named Danielle Bregoli and her mother, Barbara, appeared to discuss their home life. Dr. Phil titled the segment, "I want to give up my car-stealing, knife-wielding, twerking 13-year-old daughter who tried to frame me for a crime." Distressed, Danielle uttered her now infamous phrase, "Catch me outside, how about that?" Danielle says Dr. Phil normally sent her to a turnaround ranch in Utah where she was abused for 6 months. These capitalist facilities that capitalize on these teens are abused and tortured for profit. She witnessed troubling behavior, including other children being physically restrained by staff. She also alleged that she had to partake in intense manual labor and at one point was required to sit up for 3 days straight. No lying down was allowed in that time period. During her stint, James Jimmy Woodsley, a turnabout ranch employee, was killed by a teen enrolled in the program. She heard what happened through a counselor's walkie-talkie. "I probably still suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder from my time there," she said in an interview with Refiner 29. Rape, beatings, and racial slurs. None of it was enough to shut down this Idaho youth facility. Employees at Cornerstone Cottage alerted state officials to the dangers only to be fired themselves. It's one of 28 private residential facilities in Idaho that accept taxpayer dollars to house and to treat children. And since it opened, it's collected roughly $7.5 million from foster care agencies in Idaho and Washington alone. That's in addition to the money they got from private prayers on other state agencies that send children there. Yet, as state regulators have stood by, children at Cornerstone has repeatedly found themselves in harm's way. Employees sent an 84-page complaint to Idaho state regulators detailing horrors against children at Cornerstone Cottage, a girl being sexually assaulted and raped, another with autism purposely taunted in order to justify sending her to a hospital, and yet another girl who strangled herself repeatedly nearly to death, while workers were told not to help until she passed out. One girl was raped by a staff member, others were attacked, molested, or berated. Girls fought and sexually assaulted each other, with one being continuously called racial slurs and harassed because of her race. Several chewed and swallowed shards of glass as if they were ice and had to be hospitalized. Others attempted suicide again and again. The staff who spent most of the time with the girls had little to no experience working with kids and were paid less than $15 an hour. Former employees said for years they didn't have the mandated training to handle children who were a threat to themselves or to others. State records show, nor did they have proper training on child abuse and neglect protocols. Police were there, frequently breaking up fights, returning runaways, or putting on handcuffs because staff couldn't handle the dangerous situations on their own. From 2017 to 2022, Post Falls police were called to Cornerstone Cottage 321 times, just over once a week on average, call logs show. It's a significant number considering Cornerstone's relatively small size, with only 16 beds compared to other Idaho facilities. In 2020, an 11-year-old girl who had been through severe trauma was sent to Cornerstone from Washington State. At the Cornerstone, the girl, who was black, was constantly bullied by other girls. They called her racial slurs and compared her to animals. One resident threatened to kill her because of her race, according to company Slack messages and records. Management records show tried to address the harassment through therapy with the girls who threatened her instead of calling police and reported it as a crime. Staffers also mistreated her, calling her ghetto, sassy, stupid, and other ableist slurs, according to Carter and other employees who worked at Cornerstone at the time. One worker grabbed and squeezed the girl's chest in a sexual manner, while another employee put her hands around her neck in an attempt to strangle her or fight her. Both were later fired. Another incident was a staffer slapped a child in the face and was fired, but Cornerstone did not report the abuse to the state within the required 24 hours, a violation the state ignored initially. Because Cornerstone is privately owned, the employees that were fired and whistleblowers don't have the same protections that they'd have if they're sounding alarms about a state-run agency. Idaho is an at-will state. Charlotte Rayburn, 19, attended Ella Carson Academy from 2018 to 2019 and also claimed she took part in post and hot seat therapy sessions. She described that one took place early in her year-long stay as being particularly disturbing. It occurred, Rayburn says, in the basement of Eva Carlston. Every single person in the room was just over and over-shaming this girl. She was, 13 or 14. She was in tears. She was trying to leave, and the staff wasn't letting her leave. She tells Refiner 29. Her therapist was speaking, breaking all confidentiality agreements, telling her that all these things, that her trauma wasn't real, and she was faking everything. And I was about to start crying just being in the room. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to experience and witness. Hannah Key, 27 years old, attended Lighthouse of Northwest Florida in Jay, Florida from 2007 to 2011 and now volunteers at Breaking Code Silence. The school has been since closed sometime after an article detailing the years of allegations of abuse made by students was published in the Tampa Bay Times. Kay says she was taken to the school in the night through an escort system similar to that Paris Hilton described. Once there, she was strip searched, forcefully showered, and entered into the program against her will. Kay recalls that one of the most insidious parts of her time in the program centered around eating. I was naturally very skinny, and they would feed us tons of food. It would make me sick, and I would just vomit it all up because they wouldn't give me the time I was supposed to eat it in, and it was just too much to eat. Kay says the staff would force her to finish her food at each meal, which often caused her to vomit it up. I would get sick and throw up all the time because I would be stuffing my face with food when I was already full. She remembers. They ended up giving me a paint bucket, like a 5-gallon paint bucket, and would just sit at meals with the bucket next to me and just throw up in it. Staff members wouldn't let Kay go to the bathroom alone either. She says the staff really treated us like cattle and animals. There are no exceptions. In this industry, the people, they're wolves in sheep's clothing. Rayburn also described experiencing similar food-related issues at Eva Carlston Academy. Some of the worst experiences were just random punishments that the staff would give us, and these things called interventions that they would put us. She explains. Rayburn claims that during one of these interventions, she was forced to drink a 33-gram protein shake every few hours during the day, and then 3 more at night. I had to drink these on top of all my food and everything, she says. That messed with my body so much that I developed IBS and would throw them all up. Frederick says that one of the worst parts about eating was the way that it gave staff members the opening to shame the students. Having the staff members look over your shoulder and either give you consequences or shame you for having slightly too much rice on your plate or forcing you to eat something that makes you sick was not unpleasant. She says it completely destroyed the concept of intuitive eating for me. Given the alleged dire conditions at these treatment facilities, it was not uncommon for residents to try to escape the various means and be punished for it. A victim of capitalism alleges that she had her shoes and her right to use the bathroom and shower in private taken away. She says she was isolated from other students, and another victim of capitalism said that a group therapy session where a program manager and a bunch of the other higher-ups who mostly do not have degrees in therapy just told me all those things and how it was horrible for me to do that and how it was attention-seeking. Refinely 29 also obtained a copy of a cease and desist letter notice that some of the victims got after publicly posting about their experiences, demanding that they stop posting about their experiences on TikTok. One of the victims said they're telling me I'm lying and defaming them, but I know what I experienced, but I took it down because I can't afford a lawyer. They're still silencing me and using the power they have against me as an adult.
All new tonight, a Snohomish County family is fighting to shut down what they're calling a troubled teen treatment facility in Utah after their daughter collapsed and died there. We first told you about Taylor Goodridge in January. She was only 17 and just weeks away from coming home.
Now Fox 13's Alejandra Guzman reports on a new lawsuit backed by a state investigation filed against Diamond Ranch Academy. It claims the school failed the teen, neglecting to give her the right medical care.
For Taylor Goodridge's family, the Stillaguamish River always brings back a flood of memories.
She always had a smile, even when she was a baby.
Climbing trees, riding horses, and spending time on the water with her family. At 17, Taylor enjoyed the newfound freedom of becoming a young adult.
Oh my God!
Getting her ears pierced, dancing in recitals. But among the good, there was also bad.
She was having some problems, and there was an incident which she finally realized that she needed to get help.
Beginning in October of 2021, she was enrolled at the Diamond Ranch Academy in southern Utah, a $12,000 a month therapeutic boarding school specializing in helping teens with emotional, social, educational, and behavioral issues. On its website, the ranch claims to be America's leading teen therapeutic boarding school. Its academic program is fully accredited. Its therapists are with the students day in and day out. And they're supported by an on-campus team of various experienced licensed medical professionals who, quote, aim to treat every student like our son or daughter.
I thought I was doing what was best for my daughter. I should have just let her come home.
A little over a year later, Taylor's health took a sudden turn. The timeline laid out by investigators with the Utah Department of Health and Human Services indicates Taylor first went to staff on December 9th, 2022, complaining of back pain and difficulty breathing, and was later crying and groaning in pain. But Alan Mortensen, the Goodridge family attorney, says Diamond Ranch Academy did very little to help Taylor. In court filings, he claims she was told by staff members to take an aspirin and suck it up, even as her symptoms became worse.
For at least 7 days, she's listed there as vomiting, and everyone knew it. It got passed along, and no one did anything.
State investigators say in the days before her death, Taylor vomited at least 7 times in 11 hours.
The pain and agony that my daughter went through
is something Dean can't bear to imagine.
No 17-year-old should go through that.
Scheduled calls home.
The Zoom meeting clicked on, no Taylor.
Canceled. As Christmas approached, Taylor's condition became even worse. Autopsy results showed Taylor was in the late stages of peritonitis, a potentially fatal internal infection which usually requires rapid treatment with antibiotics.
It's not like she could call the police. It's not like she could call family services. She wasn't even allowed to call her parents.
On December 20th, Dean's phone rang. It was Diamond Ranch Executive Director Ricky Diaz saying his daughter had collapsed.
I thought she fainted, not my daughter was passing. And then less than 30 minutes later, calls back and says she's gone.
Devastated by the loss of his daughter, now Dean is on a mission to get answers. Answers that former staff member Rachel Goodrich can provide. She knew Taylor and saw firsthand Taylor's health deteriorate over the last few weeks.
She had thrown up and then she collapsed in her own vomit, and she was laying in her own vomit, passed out.
Upset by the events that led up to Taylor's death, Rachel left Diamond Ranch Academy. She also helped the state of Utah with their investigation into the academy.
They made it sound like it was an accident. But if you were actually there with her, you know that Taylor needed help.